What is going on, guys? We are back at it again with another quarantine car talk. And today's topic is just what does FBO or full bolt-ons means? Because it seems like every single time somebody on social media starts talking about, well, my car is full bolt-ons. Well, what does that exactly mean? Some people have arguments about what they think it means. And today I'm going to kind of simplify it and tell you guys what I think it means and give you guys kind of some background on what to me constitutes a bolt on a system or parts. So make sure to kind of chime in and let me know what your thoughts are, and we'll get right to it in a few more minutes as we get more people joining in. If you're watching this afterwards re-recorded, go ahead and skip to about the 2-minute mark, and then we'll get started with our conversation of today. In the meantime, hope everyone had a great weekend and everything was safe and everyone stayed safe, had a good Easter. It's time to get back to the reality of things, and hopefully everyone is doing well and staying safe. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button, comment on the live chat, let me know that you guys are here watching, and I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts back on what you guys think full bolt-on really is. All right, while we wait for people to join in, what did you guys do this weekend? Anything to your cars, any type of modifications or anything like that? Make sure you comment down below, let me know. I finally was able to finish up the fueling side of the nitrous kit. Got a little bit of fuel into the standalone tank and turned the pumps on and double checked, make sure there was no leaks or anything on all the fittings, and adjusted the fuel pressure and tested my fuel pressure safety switch on the nitrous. That video is coming tomorrow, but all that worked out. Everything tested good. We had no leaks. So now I'm just going to get some nitrous, and I'm waiting on my race fuel. That should be coming in sometime this week or next week. But in the meantime, we still can use 93 octane, so we're good to go. What's going on, Law? But anyways, guys, let's go ahead. We got 4 people in here. Let's give it a few more seconds, and we're going to dive right into talking about what is full bolt-on or FBO full bolt-ons really mean. ZL1 4-play, what's up? Any aftermarkets that help performance without any internal parts replaced? Really, really good. But would you say that a car with nitrous that is pretty much a bolt-on affair and helps with performance doesn't need to modify any internal parts? You really don't even need to modify a tune to run a nitrous. So does nitrous constitute part of a full bolt-on? That's the kind of things that, there's a lot of stuff that's kind of like in the middle, and people tend to kind of lean one way or another with what they think. Well, to me, that would constitute it, but some others there's like a gray area. So I'm gonna try to clear all that up now. So let's get right to it, guys. It looks like we got 8 people, got a few people joining in. So full bolt-on. Bolt-on, it's in the words bolt-ons. Basically, when you talk about a car that has full bolt-ons, you're looking at, okay, what are the modifications that are done? Very good, like just what ZL1 4-plays mentioned, is things that you can bolt onto the car, basically replace from the outside part. And to me, full bolt-ons is you being able to replace any of the existing hardware on the car that is bolt-on to the engine, and by the engine, that being the stock block, basically where the rotating assembly and all that is. That to me is the main stock engine, right? And of course, they bolt on heads, they bolt on intake manifolds, they bolt on throttle bodies, air intakes, headers, and exhaust. So for me, a bolt-on car is a car that has had any of the current parts, not including the rotating assembly and camshaft, replaced And so if you do headers, that is a bolt-on part. If you do intake manifold, that is a bolt-on part. And a lot of people don't agree with me, but if you do ported heads, to me, that is a bolt-on part. You've got ported throttle bodies; those are bolt-on parts. Intake, cold air intakes are bolt-on parts. Those to me are what I would consider bolt-on. Your lower crank pulley, that to me is a bolt-on part. So that is what I would constitute a full bolt-on. If someone came and said, I got a full bolt-on car, if they're running, as long as they've got the stock cam in the car and the stock rotating assembly, to me, I would consider that to still be a bolt-on car. Now, if you add nitrous, kind of like what I have, then at that point you have what's called a power adder, something that didn't come originally with the car that you're adding onto it to make more power. And so for me, the nitrous would not be considered, at that point you're not considered a full bolt-on, you're considered having a power adder. And power adders are going to be your nitrous, your turbos, superchargers, if it didn't already come with it. So like ZL1s, CTS V3s, some Z06s, those already came with a supercharger. So when they say they're running that car and they show up and say, yeah, it's just full bolt-ons, it's an agreement. The supercharger came from the factory, so you don't consider that as a power adder on that car. But if you had a base Stingray and you put a supercharger on that, then you would be considered having a power adder and not being just full bolt-ons. Does that make sense, guys? So that is what I think a full bolt-ons is. Now, if you at any time change out your cam or end up upgrading your rotating assembly, then at that point you are not bolt-ons anymore. You what they call cammed. In my case, I would usually mention and say my car is cam and heads full bolt-ons. So it's like an added label to full bolt-ons. Now, like I said, I personally agree that ported heads should be considered part of the bolt-ons. Some people don't. Some people say as once you remove and open the heads, at that point you've opened up the engine. But and you can say the same thing when you remove the intake manifold. So it goes either way. But yeah, basically removing the heads is what they would say, and just doing the replacement of the heads. But to me, that is full bolt. That's a bolt-on part because the heads bolt on and they open out, and all you do is replace a couple gaskets, similar like you would with the headers and the header gaskets, right? Manifold gaskets. It's the same thing. It's a little more in depth, more involved, but at that point, it's still to me that's considered a bolt-on part. But that people can differentiate. I'm still gonna kind of go with the convention of saying, my car is cam and heads full bolt-on because it's got everything else. Let's see. Kevin M says, hello, how are you? From my 6th Gen 2, it says, I bought a cold air intake and I bought a used MSD manifold. Do you recommend me to buy new bolts and seals? I believe the MSD intake might already come with the seals. If not, you could just reuse your stock intake seals. I believe they use the same ones. Not really. You don't. Not for the intake. I would just reuse the stock bolts. They're not going to be under massive pressure from blower, supercharger, anything like that. Jose says full bolt-ons when you're not stock but still slow. Hey man, some full bolt-on cars are pretty quick. They move out, and that engine purrs. So I'm the only ricer here, but I love muscle. What's going on, Daily Ricer? ZL1 4-plate. My ride is officially up in Denver at J&S Performance and Tuning for the Stage 3 build. Hey, that's awesome. I can't wait to hear back from you how that ends up and how it drives, because I remember when I got my car back after it was cammed, and let's just say it felt like a whole nother car, and I just was excited to drive that car again. I mean, I was already happy to drive it before, and now it just made it so much nicer. But anyways, guys, what are you guys' thoughts on that? I mean, you always hear all kinds of people saying, "Oh, well, basically, I bolted it on, so it should be a bolt-on, like it's still considered a full bolt-on car." As long as it came from the factory and you replaced a part that bolted on, I think it should be considered it would still be considered a bolt-on. looking forward to it. Looking forward to checking that out. But anyways, guys, what are some of the bolt-on parts that you guys would consider still being full bolt-on, and what would you not? Let me know in the comments. But that's pretty much what I had for today's topic, guys. It was just, I wanted to get that out there. Seems like there's always confusions and people always have questions about it. But basically, like ZL1 mentioned, as long as you're not replacing any internal parts, which to me would be any the rotating assembly or the camshaft, then if you ported your heads and took them off and put them back on, you bolted those off and bolted those on. So to me, I would consider that a bolt-on part. Jose, I got my LT4's injectors in, fixing to slap them on with the fuel lash cap on the LT1 swap and retune it on the 85. Still bolt-ons, but I'm not full bolt-on yet. Nice. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yep. I would say that my Camaro is full bolt-ons, and that is because I have pretty much replaced everything that came from the factory with it that could give me power. I've gotten my ATI balancer, my ATI underdrive balancer. It's already in the car. I've got the headers. I've got the intake. I've got the bigger throttle body. I've replaced the throttle body. I've replaced the intake manifold. I've replaced the heads with ported heads. And to me, that if you did all that, you'd have a full bolt-on car. And then, of course, now I've gone and I've also done the cam. So the car now is cammed plus the bolt-ons. And I guess you could say the cam is still not really officially changing much of the internals. But, I mean, yeah, you're still opening up the front seal and all that. And at that point, things can be different. So I've still got my stock pistons, stock rods, stock crank. Haven't changed that out. But that's about the only thing I haven't changed out on the car that would give me maybe some extra power abilities. Now, I've added the nitrous, which now I would make that my power adder. I would say that's a power adder because nitrous wasn't something that came from the factory with the car. If the car came from the factory with nitrous and I maybe just upgraded and replaced the solenoids with bigger solenoids for bigger nitrous shots or something, then I would consider that still a bolt-on part. Similar to what like people do pulley swaps. That's still considered a bolt-on, even though the car came with a supercharger. They swapped out pulleys, so I would consider that a bolt-on as well. Jose says, I ported my throttle body, but not going to swap it. LT1, LT4 throttle body ported and polished is enough for now. Yeah, I mean, I've got an LT4 on my LT1, so that's why I say I've replaced it. I've thought about going maybe with the 103 from like K-Tech or Nick Williams, but for what the car's doing right now, the LT4 throttle, the LT5 actually, well, the LT5 throttle body is more than enough. And it's pretty good, a 95 millimeter, and then once they're ported, they get to almost about 100 millimeter. So they basically almost the size of a 103. And for NA cars, definitely that's more than enough. Really good flow and work really well with an MSD intake. So like I was mentioning just earlier when people were still joining in, guys, the car is, I finally got it out. I washed it. I drove it over the weekend. It was nice, drive it around. But I've finally I poured about half a gallon of 93 into the fuel tank, into the standalone fuel system, little tank. And I pressurized the system, turned the pump on, pressurized the regulator, made sure that, saw that everything was flowing. There was no leaks. It was awesome. It was great. Got it set up for 45 PSI. And I also tested the fuel pressure safety switch to make sure that when the system is armed, the relays are only going to work when the fuel pressure is maintained. So basically, if I run out of gas, but it tries to spray, it won't spray at all because the fuel pressure will drop. So all that has been kind of tested and verified. Now tomorrow, I'm hoping to go get nitrous. I'm going to try to fill up my bottle, and then I'm waiting on my race fuel. I ordered that, and that should be getting here anytime soon, C16. But in the meantime, I've kind of got started my dialogue with Pat G to look at the target AFR that we want to see. So we're going to be testing out the car. I'm going to start off with a 50 shot, and I'm going to move my way up from 50 to a 100, and then finally a 150. But we're going to try to dial in every shot first. So we'll start with the 50 shot and see where the AFR is, and see if we need to maybe increase the fuel jet size or reduce it to kind of get the right AFR mix, make sure that we're targeting the right mix during a pool. So all that stuff is stuff that I'll definitely be showing you guys and sending videos of. It's very in-depth. You can also, you'll read the plugs, you can look at AFR, and so I'll be doing all that just to make sure that we can get good info on what the car wants and give it what it needs to make the best, most safe, most reliable power. But I'm excited. I can't wait to try the first nitrous hit. Might not feel too much of a difference with a 50 shot, but who knows? We'll see. I still have to route my purge line that I'm probably going to have Excessive Racings do, just because they have the right tools to be able to bend the hard tubing line, and I'm going to have them kind of route it for me. So we'll have to get that set up as well. ZL1 Play says, I have 245 upper pulley, long tube headers, X-Pipe, Corsa exhaust, dual catch can are my bolt-ons minus the canvas though. Nice. Man, that car is going to move. And yeah, I'm excited for the Camaro. I'm really excited to see how it pulls. I remember the first time I sprayed nitrous on my G8, it was like, whoa. The first time I think when I did the 50 shot on the G8, and that one didn't really have almost the same amount of power my Camaro does. So when I did the nitrous on the G8, I didn't have a cam. It was just headers and intake at the time. It wasn't making nearly as much power as my Camaro is. And when I did the 50 shot on that, I could kind of feel it, but you didn't really feel it as much. Then when I did the 100 shot, you could definitely notice that. So you could notice when it was on 100 shot or when it wasn't. So I can't imagine how the Camaro is going to feel with, over almost 100, 150 horsepower more than what the G8 had. So it's going to be insane. Is a torque converter considered bolt-on? Yeah, I think it is. That goes right along with my description of if the car came with a part and you can remove it and replace it with another part without touching your rotating assembly or lower main block, then I think, definitely that would be considered a bolt-on. Luis Villa, how the fuck do you guys have money for all this shit? Man, well, I try to save as much as I can, but I do what I can. Oh, it's expensive, but over time, my thing is I'm hoping that all the money that I'm spending on it now, I'm getting to enjoy throughout the life of the car, so that it averages out to being, the average cost per year of modding my car by me doing it up front and hopefully having it hold together and last for a couple years is basically, going to average out to a low cost per year of enjoyment. Forgot we're changing fuel injectors 3 to 5. Yep, nice. That'll really help. Robert Bonada. Hey, sorry I missed a few episodes. Congrats on all the new stuff. But have you thought about safety? I'm talking about stopping power, big brakes, and 5-point seatbelt. Well, I've got Brembo. The Brembo brakes on the Camaros are really good. Pretty much, you don't need massive brakes, especially if you're doing like a quarter mile, and unless you're even people that have the really high end, over 160 mile an hour, they just go with a parachute at that point, but they're running 8-second quarter miles. So the brakes that come with from the factory are really good and more than enough to stop. Now, if you had like a V6 with smaller brakes, then maybe I would look into upgrading that. But the stock brakes on the Camaro will be perfectly fine. And in terms of like seat belts, the car is not fast enough yet to need some kind of like roll bar or harness. to do like a 5-point seatbelt, you need to have your roll bar or roll cage in the back, and the cars that require the roll cages usually need to run 9.9s or faster. Now the Camaro, it should run low 10s, possibly high 9s with the 100 and 150 shot. So you know, I'm probably gonna get to the point where I might need to add the roll cage, and at that point I would probably go and maybe get, you know, a better seat or get the harness for the harness and do a roll cage on it. But not really needed. The car is not that fast. If I was trapping over 140, 145, then definitely I would look into the roll cage and putting the harness and having a better harness. Hey man, we got to do what we got to do, and we all. One thing I will say is this is a hobby. This is what we love to do. This is what I enjoy working on my cars. I mean, in the last 2 weeks that we've been, you know, at home trying to, you know, do our part by staying at home throughout this current issue and events that we're having, I've been just working on my car. I've just been doing things every afternoon with the car, and so my time has flown by quickly, very, very quickly. And you know, I've always had something to do. Like today, even though I was done, I was finally able to test the fuel system stuff, and I even got outside and I washed my Camaro. I finally washed the Mustang, and I've just kind of used that to take my mind off of what's going on and distract me for a little while. You know, but at the same time, you know, we all got our timeline. Everyone has their goals, their timelines, and where they want to go. I wouldn't try rushing and getting to your goal as fast as you can, but take your time, plan everything out, line everything out, look at where you want to be and how you can get there, and work your way there. Now, if that goal for me was, okay, I want by next year, this was way back last year. By this year, by 2020, I wanted to have the car either Camaro Heads or Nitrous, and I ended up being fortunate enough to be able to make both of those things happen. But it wasn't something I just woke up and decided, hey, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. It was months and months of planning and organizing and moving things around to make sure that we had everything in place to get what we wanted done. And for some people, that might be just, I want to cold air intake, or I want to do the headers on my car. Well, it might take a month or two or however long it takes. Some people is faster than others. But the point is, you plan it out and you try to get it to work the best way that you can for yourself and your situation. And ultimately, that's the stuff that we do because we want to do it, because we like to do it, and we enjoy the results that we see from it. Duke Larson, going to be taking my 2018 SS Camaro to the drags when they're open. Yes, I can't wait for the drag strips to be open. I am ready to go back, especially now that I've got the Camaro Heads with the throttle body finally open and not closing. And so can't wait for that to test that and make sure that we got that issue fixed and see just how it runs, you know, without the nitrous, just NA. And then, you know, once we see that the throttle body stays open, everything works great down the track, then we can go and try, you know, the 50 shot, then try a 100 shot, and hopefully a 150 shot at the end on the same night to show you guys what each extra increment of power actually does to both your mile per hour and your times. Duke Larson, what kind of times did you get in your Camaro SS? Duke, so when the car was bone stock, the best I could do, now keep in mind, I only went to the track once when it was bone stock. Right after that, I ended up, you know, modifying the car every single time. But the car went a 12.2 at about 114.5, and then now the fastest the car's been is a 10.9 at 131 miles an hour, and that was with the throttle body closing and the heads and the cam setup that I have now. So with the nitrous setup, the car should be in the low 10s, possibly high 9s. Who knows? We'll see. Like I said, I don't know how to truly gauge what the car was doing since we were having issues with the throttle body. for all I know, I've seen that 131 mile per hour time on down the drag strip equates to about, I've seen cars about 10.6, 10.7. A CTS V2 that I know runs a 10.6 at 130, and I was trapping 1 mile over that. So if the throttle body wasn't closing all the way, then maybe we would have been able to have a better short track 8th mile acceleration, and we maybe would have been trapping higher than 131 and running really, really good times in the mid-10s as it was just heads and cam. Now, with the weather changing and us getting warmer, I don't think you would see we'll be able to see that again. So even if the throttle body stays open, there's a chance the car will still run the 131, maybe 130 same mile per hour, but with throttle body staying completely open, and our time slip still being in the high 10s. But that's mainly because of the DA compared to when I was running that 10.9, which was a lot like negative DA. So it's interesting. The nitrous, once we use nitrous is a super coolant, super cool. So it basically cools all the hot air, and we should be seeing pretty much the benefit of it in the summer. And hopefully with 100 shot, be running low 10s consistently in the middle of the summer. And obviously in the cold winter, probably be much even faster. So I'm excited about that. Flying Harpoon, did you ever decide on where you are mounting the purge? I really want to try to get it to be routed and spraying out of the center of the hood vent. But if I ever decide to change the hood, I would have to go back and redo that line, depending on what kind of hood I went with. So my next thing would be maybe doing it out of the front bumper of the flow tie, but there's just so many things in the way. I don't know how much of a line that is, and if you could even route that and get it to access to spray right out of there comfortably. So right now I'm stuck between the hood vent or the just out the front of the windshield, behind at the back of the hood. Junior 5.0, is the cam spec for nitrous or NA? It's a NA cam, so it's a stage 2 NA cam. It's not spec for nitrous. Like I said, I really wasn't kind of planning on doing both heads and cam and nitrous. It kind of just happened to work out. So I got the NA cam, but it should work well with the nitrous kit. My SS is all stock. Yeah, in the summer, dude, you're probably going to be running in the low 12s, especially if you have bad DA, just because the weather doesn't help the cars run as fast as they should. V8, my Camaro is stock 100%. Man, that's what a full bolt-on person would say. Herman, what do you think about HHP tuner? Houston House of Power? So that would be Chuck, right? I think that's the name of the tuner from Houston House of Power. I don't have any personal experience with HHP. And obviously everyone only hears all the bad stuff usually. Like if you're not in that close circle, I mean, I'm sure he tunes plenty of cars, and you really, unless you're within that circle, I've only heard of like the bad cars, all the bad stuff about him, copy pasting stuff and things like that. But that's just hearsay. I've never had any personal experience with him, so I'm not gonna say oh, he's good or he's bad, because I just don't have any personal experience with it. How much NOS are you running? So the cars, I'm gonna start off with a 50 shot and work my way. Ideally, when I finally dial everything in, the 50 shot is just gonna be to test everything and work my way up. Make sure I don't want to just start off with 150 shot right away. So you start with the 50 shot, you dial everything in, you see how the engine's responding, and you kind of work from there. Ultimately, I'm probably going to end up just leaving it at 100 shots for most of the time, and the 150s, unless 150 seems to be pretty good and it's running decently, and I'm not seeing anything in the data logs causing any issues. The spark plugs are looking good, and which I don't see an issue possibly coming up, because I am going to be using C16 in the standalone tank, and of course we all know C16 is great for nitrous and will really help everything stay safe. So I might do a 150 shot, but then that's going to be putting the car possibly around the 700 horsepower range, and I don't know if I want to keep it there. I'm leaning more towards 650, so 100 shot is probably where I want to be at. V8 Freak, I am still using E85. I'll be using E85 as my main, main gas, main fuel for the NA tune. And then I have a standalone fuel system where I'm going to be running C16. So when nitrous sprays, it'll be spraying with C16 race gas. Days TV, what do you think about converter on a 10-speed? It should be really good. I mean, those things already, the 10-speed's biggest benefit is that once it revs out and shifts, it has such a high RPM window that it basically is going to be at the peak horsepower the whole run. Now, if you get a converter, you're basically going to flash it and get to that peak window much faster, and it should run really, really well. Herman, you should run a full bolt-on 10-speed Mustang. Yeah, I hopefully when all this kind of settles down, I'll be able to run, a bunch of people. I'd love to run a few cars, Mustangs, other Camaros, Challengers, Hellcats, CTSVs, ZL1s. I'd love to start running all those. And the best thing about my nitrous setup is I'm always going to be on the max NA tune. So my NA tune is going to always be max on where it needs to be on point. So the car is not going to have any power loss while running just NA. And my nitrous kit is going to be the one with the engine filter timing box, pulling back the timing and doing all that. And with the C16, of course, you don't really have to pull much timing, if any, but I'll still be pulling the timing, 4 to 6 degrees on a 100 or to 150 shot. And maybe depending on how we see the plugs, how we see everything, I might dial that back and just pull maybe 2 or 3 degrees. Probably maybe pull 2 degrees on a 100 shot instead of the 4 that you're supposed to, and then pull just 3 or 4 degrees on the 150 shot instead of the 6 degrees that you're supposed to, because of course the C16 race fuel is able to handle a lot more timing. So it should be a good setup. Duke Larson, thanks for the time share with us. I was always told a 150 is max. Yeah, so you could pop on if I didn't have my cam and the heads and the car was making maybe 450 to 460 horsepower to the wheels, like it was just bolt-ons, and I just did the nitrous kit. If I was running C16 race fuel, then I would feel very comfortable even you running a 200 shot on just the bolt-on setup with the C16 pulling back, 6 to 7 degrees of timing, just because that race gas really has really strong pre-detonation resistance. So it's gonna run well, and you're not gonna have to worry about any pre-detonation or knock or anything like that. So, but because the car is heads and cam and it's already in over the 500 horsepower range, I really want to stay under the 700 horsepower range, ideally 650, which should be really comfortable, and the car should be able to live well in that, especially for just when it's spraying nitrous, because the rest of the time it's just NA and it can run as good as it should NA. So yeah, I'm gonna stay right under 100, 150 or less, but just because I don't want the total horsepower to be pushing over 700. All right. So what else have you guys got going on? See, we got about 12 people on the chats on the video. And I'm going to be hopefully explaining a lot more just about why it is that I'm doing what I'm doing with the nitrous kit in the future videos when we actually start spraying nitrous and using nitrous. I'll go ahead and show you guys, the AFRs that we're going to be targeting. We'll also go look at the spark plugs. So once we target an AFR, we'll see that, okay, this is working, the car is spraying, and this is what we're seeing every single time. So we know those jets, those sizes are the ones that work. Then we can look at just pulling a plug and showing you guys what the plug looks like and the way that it looks can kind of help you adjust what you need back and forth. And there's different ways of adjusting. When you have a standalone fuel system with its own fuel regulator to adjust the fuel pressure, you can use that to your advantage to maybe adjust and either increase the fuel pressure to give you some more fuel, or reduce the fuel pressure to kind of back the fuel out a little bit if you're going too rich and want to adjust too lean but don't have the right jetting sizes or need just a little bit more movement. So pretty awesome ways that a lot of different ways you can do it. Thanks, Duke. And yeah, I'm going to be honest, I think for the most part, I'm probably just going to be running a 100 shot. The 150 shot I'll reserve to the track just to run maybe a 9. If I'm close to a 9 second with a 100 shot, then I'll definitely do the 150 shot and try to get that 9 second quarter mile pass, and can't wait for that to work out. Will the car be drag racing all the way? Well, it's the way it's set up right now. I could drive it, cruise it, daily drive it, move it around, and possibly I could even road course it if I wanted to. It's still has suspension stuff. It doesn't have anything, but by that you mean, am I just going to use it only for drag racing, or like go take it to the track or anything? No, I'm going to cruise the shit out of it. I'm going to be taking it on cruises, driving around town, doing some like weekend fun cruises, going to events, going to meets and all that. No, the car's not going to be just drag racing 24/7. Nah, it's the car, the way it's built and set up. I mean, it can cruise and drive comfortably long distances. I mean, I'd love to go on like a rally or something like that. That'd be really awesome to do. So definitely not going to be a drag racing car 24/7. Jose, I want twin turbo setup or an F1A 94. Those F1A 94 is basically like a turbo setup, man. I had it on my G8 and that thing was nasty. Once you really got in the high RPM range, whoo, those things really, really, really hauled ass. Come with me to Key West. Man, that'd be awesome. I would love to go to Florida. Hopefully, if everything works out and things get better, then I already had planned to go to Camaro Fest I believe it's in Kentucky or wherever that Camaro Fest was going to be at, in Bowling Green, Kentucky or something like that. I was going to be going out to that. I was also going to go to the Camaro Fest or in West or wherever, the one that's in Las Vegas. That was also planned. I'm not sure if that's still happening. But yeah, I was planning on going everywhere. Now, some of these longer trips, I probably would just take it on a trailer and then, bring it down from the trailer and then cruise and drive and do everything around there. But yeah, that was definitely in the plans. I did want to start driving around and meeting a lot of people, going to different events, YouTube call outs and things like that all around the country. CL14 play. You have to enjoy your ride. I dig car shows because I really enjoy hearing the stories. Yep. Yeah, you got to. It's so much you can talk about. Going Mustang hunting in Mexico this weekend. Law night. Actually, we will see. The car is going to be, hopefully, I can dial in. I'm getting nitrous tomorrow. I'm filling up my bottle tomorrow. There's a little cruise I'm also going to try to go to tomorrow to Galveston, to our little beach area. That's going to be pretty cool. Probably no major racing there. I won't be using nitrous there since I'm barely going to fill the bottle up. But then throughout the week, hopefully, if everything goes well, and the weather's good, then I'll be doing some data logging and dialing in and trying the nitrous for the first time, on the 50 and 100 shot. And so all that stuff, maybe by Saturday, the car will be ready to go. I'll have some nitrous. It'll be dialed in, and we can go play with some big boys and go race a few people. V8 Freak, Camaro Fest. Yeah, they canceled it. Hopefully, I'm hoping they don't cancel the Las Vegas one, because I know that one's towards the fall normally, so we'll be excited to see how that goes. But yeah, if there's ever major big events, I know Cletus and Cars happens in Florida, but I don't know how close that is to Key West. But Cletus and Cars is in Florida. I'd love to go to the Florida event. They have one here in Houston then they also have their version at which is gonna be at the Freedom Factory now as well. So I'd love to go out there and go to those events, but we'll see. I want to get a drag pack like yours. What are you running front and back sizes? Dude, so I'm running 18 by 5-inch front skinnies with a 28-inch tall, I believe it's M&H tire. But it's a bias ply tire in the front. And then I'm running a 17 by 10 with a 305/45/17 Mickey Thompson ET Street drag radial in the rear. Now I'm about to buy the new ET Street R's. My ET Street's SS's were pretty much shot after last season, after all year last year. So before we can go back to the track, I'm going to be going and getting new ET Street R's for the car. So then it'll have brand new rubber in the back to be able to hopefully hook when that spray comes in. Flying Tarpoon, I'm in the process of finding an exhaust system. What happens with AFM system if I go catback? Will I have a constant check engine light? So if you go with the full cat pack, one thing you can do to kind of avoid the check engine light is when you remove your AFM valves or your AFM valves that are in the midsection, then unscrew the motors from the actual exhaust. So the motors where the plug goes into them, you unscrew those and then just plug them back in under the car and zip tie them out of the way so that the car still thinks that the AFM is working and closing and opening. And then you won't have any check engine lights. So unless your car's already tuned, and then you can tune or unlock the third controller, the CCM or the FSCM, and then use that to remove any check engine lights and just not have the motors under the car. Man, Texas is like the size of 4 states. You can't go anywhere without a long drive. That is true. That is true. I think between here and Los Angeles, half of the drive is from here, is within Texas, from Houston, from the east Texas all the way to El Paso is about the same distance then from El Paso to Los Angeles, and that crosses three states. What's going on, Yang? So yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, the current situation gets better and we can start having more normal daily lives soon, and hopefully have a great summer. And the fall should be fun. There's going to be probably a lot of events that will be good to go that I'll try to definitely make and go to. Anyways, guys, got a few more minutes here, so if you guys have any quick questions or anything like that, then go ahead and comment down below. I'm going to be checking out here in the next few minutes. Okay, looks like everybody's questions have been answered, which is awesome. By the way, guys, if you guys are still here, make sure you hit the thumbs up button. Really appreciate it. Definitely helps me and helps get this content out to more people. So make sure you smash that thumbs up button. Like always, and again, I probably will not be doing a quarantine live talk tomorrow because, like I mentioned, I am going to be going on this evening cruise. So I don't know if I'll be back in time, but maybe I'll just go ahead and start one, out there at the cruise through my phone. So keep an eye out. Make sure if you are following me, hit the notification bell. So if I do go live, it'll actually notify you guys, and I might be doing one from my car, or, from the cruise where we're at, and just kind of talk while we're out and about enjoying our rides. Johnson Luke, could you let us know on social media when you would be coming to San Antonio? Yeah, man, for sure. Once I start traveling and doing all that, I will definitely let everyone know. My Instagram has been getting a lot of followers. I really appreciate it. We've got a lot of people joining my Instagram page, so definitely going to be posting a lot of content there, and also just giving you guys sneak peeks. And definitely, whenever I go different places, I will definitely let everyone know. I do need to go back to San Antonio area to go race Jack in Determined Veterans. So when I go out there, I'll definitely let everyone know, and maybe I'll meet some of you guys at the track. Let me know when you hit the streets of H-Town. I want to go too. Jose, for sure, man. I'll hit you up on Facebook. Yep. Oh yeah. But anyways, guys, like always, you guys stay safe. Sorry, one more question. Do you have any plans after you go your car max NA build? Right now, I did do the nitrous, so I don't have any plans, not for the foreseeable year, on changing anything up besides the power level on the nitrous, just because that was a pretty pricey kit, and so I've kind of maxed out my funds for this year's worth of modifications. But maybe next year I might decide to go with a built motor and increase the nitrous shot, or decide to maybe do twin turbos or something, boosts, which the nitrous could just be a great add-on too. So it doesn't necessarily mean I would need to get rid of my nitrous. I could just use that on top with the turbos to get a quick spool. Alonso, let me know if you're ever in LA, man. Thanks for all your help. Hey, no problem, guys. You guys stay safe, and I hope you guys can have a good time and enjoy this quarantine and car talk. Hopefully, I'll see you guys maybe tomorrow, maybe if not on Wednesday. You guys have a good one.